Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.
From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Monday, December 14th. I'm Wayne Pratt. A licensed therapist in St. Louis created the I Define Me Wellness Mobile to give girls of color a safe space to express themselves.
So we're really pushing the value of seeing your worth and knowing that you can create something positive that goes out into the community.
In just a few minutes, St. Louis Public Radio's Marissa Ann Lewis-Thompson has more on the effect it is having during the pandemic. Hospitals in the St. Louis region are expected to receive the first doses of the coronavirus vaccine this week. That follows the Food and Drug Administration's approval of the vaccine from drug company Pfizer. St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Fenton reports the federal government's initial 51,000 doses for Missouri will not be nearly enough to vaccinate all of the state's healthcare workers.
The first shots will go to select healthcare sites in Missouri able to store the vaccine at the needed temperature of 90 degrees below zero. Dr. Clay Dunnigan is BJC Healthcare's chief clinical officer. He says BJC expects to receive close to 10,000 doses this week for workers who work directly with coronavirus patients.
So that could be the chief of staff, or it could be the person who delivers the breakfast trays. They'll all go into one group together.
But the first shipment will vaccinate less than 1/3 of BJC's patient-facing workers. Dunnigan said that the hospitals will then sort people by age, and the oldest staff members will get the vaccine first. State health officials say Missouri will receive enough vaccines for all healthcare workers and nursing home staff by the end of winter. I'm Sarah Fenton, St. Louis Public Radio.
The anticipated arrival of the vaccine comes as a New York Times analysis shows coronavirus cases in the region are decreasing. There have been roughly 1,850 cases each day over the past week. That's down 9.5% compared to the previous 7 days. Missouri has a positivity rate of around 16%. It's roughly 9% in Illinois. St. Louis County's Safer at Home order is expected to be extended. Five on Your Side reports the restrictions will likely go on for another 2 weeks to curb the spread of coronavirus. County Executive Sam Page is expected to make that announcement today. The order was implemented November 17th, calling on residents to stay home except for essential businesses and necessities. The move also bans indoor dining at restaurants. U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois says financial assistance for restaurants in that state should be a key part of any COVID-19 relief package. Tim Shelley reports.
Senator Duckworth is a co-sponsor of the Restaurants Act, which would establish a $120 billion fund to help independent restaurants weather the COVID-19 pandemic.
I also know that providing relief to the restaurant industry isn't just about helping out with your bottom lines. It's about supporting the thousands of service industry workers across the state while also keeping them safe and protected.
Thousands of Illinois hospitality workers have lost their jobs during the COVID-19 pandemic. And 58% of Illinois restaurant owners surveyed by the National Restaurant Association this week say it's unlikely they'll still be in business 4 months from now without a federal relief package passed by the end of the year. I'm Tim Shelley.
In other news, presidential electors in Missouri and Illinois gather today as part of the process that will formally elect Joe Biden president. Missouri's Electoral College members will meet this afternoon at the state capitol. They will cast electoral votes for the president and vice president who won the state in the November election. Illinois' electors will gather in Springfield to formally elect Biden. Hannah Meisel reports.
3.5 million Illinois voters cast their ballots for the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris presidential ticket this fall. Winning with nearly 58% of the vote means the state will cast its 20 electoral college votes for the Democrats. Illinois electors will make it official this morning with a socially distanced meeting at the state capitol building. President Donald Trump's allies lost their latest legal challenge on Friday when the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear a case that sought to overturn the election. The suit, brought by Republican attorneys general, aimed to invalidate election results from Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, and Wisconsin, which all went for Biden. Two Illinois congressmen, Darren LaHood of Peoria and Mike Bost of Murfreesboro, plus Congresswoman-elect Mary Miller of Oakland, signed on to that failed legal challenge. I'm Hannah Meisel.
Being a teenage girl of color can be a challenge. Some do not feel heard or have access to a safe place to talk. A St. Louis therapist was working to address the problem before coronavirus arrived. St. Louis Public Radio's Marissa Ann Lewis-Thompson reports on how the pandemic gave the I Define Me Wellness Mobile new urgency.
So this is what the Wellness Mobile looks like.
Tracy Berry McGee is showing off her Wellness Mobile on Zoom. It looks like a purple clubhouse on wheels with giant painted on sunflowers and vibrant images of girls of color on the side. Berry McGee created the Wellness Mobile as a safe space for girls.
So we're really pushing the value of seeing your worth and knowing that you can create something positive that goes out into the community.
The inside of the Mobile is its own little haven. Only 2 girls are allowed onto the Mobile at a time. There are built-in benches, pictures of Black girls along the wall, and even a selfie stand. Berry McGee has been creating safe spaces and empowering girls for nearly 2 decades through her I Define Me movement. The licensed therapist had already planned on taking her message on the road before the pandemic hit. The goal is to give girls an outlet to talk about their challenges and trauma through solo and group virtual and in-person counseling sessions.
To be able to have a space that you can literally say, let's talk about these topics in chat one-on-one. If there's a need for a mentor to connect with them one-on-one, we need to give our kids a space to feel that they still have the option to reach out.
Every girl that walks into the Wellness Mobile is given a Wellness Keeper kit with a journal, body butter, and other wellness products made by girls for girls, including black and white masks created by 11-year-old Legacy Jackson. She says the Mobile made her feel safe.
And not in all places you feel like that, especially not near a car or a mobile unless it's with their parents.
Jackson says she didn't always know who she could trust to share how she was really feeling. She says having a safe space to do that makes it easier to open up.
When you're there with them, with Miss Tracy and the Wellness Mobile and all the different mentors and counselors, you're like, you can say, oh, I'm having a bad day because of this, and they'll help you make your bad day into a good day.
It just so happens Legacy's mom, Kenidra Ogunaki, specializes in suicidal and homicidal counseling. She's also a school counselor with St. Louis Public Schools. She says many kids are dealing with the negative effects of the pandemic, including isolation. She says the Wellness Mobile gives girls like her daughter a hint of normalcy.
They are having the opportunity to still fulfill that void, as well as having other people who they can turn to if they need them, especially if they are having thoughts of suicide or harming themselves.
Prior to the pandemic, kids and teens were already dealing with their own anxieties, but a summer filled with intense protests mixed with the coronavirus only made it worse. Dr. Jamaica Woody Cooper is a licensed psychologist at Emergence Psychological Services. Woody Cooper says this generation already had fewer face-to-face interactions. The pandemic took away what little in-person contact they had.
The opportunities for the contact don't exist anymore, not right now. So they're not having the opportunities to practice those social skills and also possibly release some of the anxiety that they have just by the hormonal development that comes with being a teenager.
And the data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention supports it. The percentage of young people going to the ER for mental health visits is up from last year. And in the Wellness Mobile, Berry McGee is seeing the impact of the pandemic firsthand.
We deal with the trauma of not having enough food to eat, not having someone to talk to. We also are seeing that some of the sexual abuse numbers are high and the child abuse numbers are high. And oftentimes now this is a time period where you can't have someone go directly to that home.
Which is where the Wellness Mobile is having an impact. Regardless of what challenges they're facing, Berry McGee hopes her work will empower girls in the community to know their worth. I'm Marissa Ann Lewis-Thompson, St. Louis Public Radio.
Our Maria Altman edited that report. Shula Newman is the executive editor of St. Louis Public Radio. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. Before wrapping up, the Muni is planning to start its 2021 season July 5th. That's after the Outdoor Theater in St. Louis postponed its 2020 shows until next summer because of the pandemic. The schedule will depend on how the region is coping with the outbreak. The Muni says it will be working with city health officials in monitoring the, quote, anticipated global recovery from COVID-19. I'm Wayne Pratt. From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this has been The Gateway.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.